Revelation 12:11 says that we're going to overcome this dragon by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. In other words, the way that we overcome our enemy is with the gospel of Jesus Christ, the blood of the Lamb, and the word of our testimony, how Jesus has changed us. I just want to give you guys some hope, man. My friend SP asked me if I would share my testimony, and I also want to train you guys how you can share your testimony, because no weapon formed against us will prosper. We are more than conquerors. And the way that we overcome and the way that we conquer is through the gospel, God's story, and our testimonies, our story. So let's go tell our stories. Here's mine. This is the 15-second version. There was a time in my life when I was addicted and self-centered. And then I submitted my life to King Jesus. And he set me free, and he gave me a concern for others. Do you have a story like that? Now let me give you the 3-minute version. It's a little bit more detail, but the structure is the same. So there was a time in my life when I was poster child for rebellious pastors' kids of America. My daddy was a pastor and my granddaddy was a pastor, and I grew up in the church. And I knew when to sit and when to stand and all the right words to say, but I really didn't know Jesus. And from age 12 to age 16, I went off and did what most people do in college. And I was getting drunk all the time and doing stuff that now I wish I had never done. But my great-grandfather lived right down the street from my house, and he died rejecting Jesus. And I never went to go visit him and spend time with him and tell him. I missed out on all kinds of stories, how he played the saxophone in the Roaring Twenties in downtown Chicago. In the middle of my junior year, right when 1993 was becoming 1994, I went to a New Year's Eve party, and I had just started asking God if he was real to show me. And it was the countdown. Now, I was in Chicago, and we were watching the ball drop in New York, so we still had an hour left of 1993 when God got a hold of me. I hadn't made a New Year's resolution yet, and the ball's starting to drop. 5, 4, 3, I will never drink again. 2, 1. Happy New Year. And I cranked open this beer and slammed it down. And the Holy Spirit came on me like a wet blanket in that moment. In the last hour for me in 1993. And God asked me why I lied to my parents, why I lied to myself about not drinking and driving, why we lied to my friends' parents about what we were going to be doing that night, and why I had just lied to him. And I decided that I would submit myself to him. God, in that moment, sobered me and showed me who I was and how much he still loved me. Right now, it's 2020, and I haven't been drunk since 1993, maybe the last hour of 1993. But man, God has been faithful, and he has set me free. I am free from sin, and I'm not stuck in all that stuff like I used to be. I can't tell you how incredible it is to be set free from an addiction like that. And all that stuff that I had gotten addicted to, God just broke it off of me and began to make me more and more like him. And he's given me this huge concern for others. There is a whole world full of people that are just like my grandfather, my great-grandfather, that died rejecting Jesus. But a lot of those people haven't even ever heard. And so I've devoted my life to losing my life and living for his name's sake and telling other people about Jesus. And man, it's the most incredible thing ever. And there's this way that we can offer hope to others and help them become eternally healthy. And that's what we live for now. So do you have a story like that? I believe that all of us have a story, and I just want to train you how you could share yours just real fast. I use this simple format. There was a time in my life where I was addicted and self-centered. Those are the two things that were true for me before Jesus. And then I submitted to King Jesus, my New Year's Eve story. And then my after Christ, he set me free, and he's given me this concern for others. And then I always ask if people have a story like that, because I want to kind of find out where they're at. I don't just want to talk. I want to listen. When we get out here sharing our testimonies, we really need to do a good job listening to other people. But right now, pull out a piece of paper and just jot this down. Think of two things that were true for you before Jesus. Maybe it was, I was alone and depressed, and then I submitted to King Jesus, and I know that he's always with me, and he's given me purpose. I don't know what your story is, but I really think it's powerful when you can come up with two things that relate to each other, that give you a simple way that you can remember it, and then you're always ready to share your story. Some people, like the man born blind, have a real simple story. And if you just come to Jesus, you could maybe come up with your simple statement. This blind man in John chapter 9 just said, man, I once was blind, but now I see. And then he asked the people that were asking him, do you want to follow Jesus too? And I think that there's a powerful way for anybody to tell their story. Man, I once was addicted, and now Jesus set me free. We all, no matter how long we've been walking with Jesus, can tell our story. Some people have been walking with Jesus for a long time, and they don't remember a lot of this before Jesus. But you could real simply share your with and without story. Maybe you grew up in more of like Noah's family, where your family was righteous and really walked with God, and you grew up listening to God and building the boat for him, and you saw things like the two of every animal and the gopher wood showing up and everything that you needed to follow Jesus. And you got a more of a story like that. You could say, I've always grown up hearing about Jesus. And when I finally decided to submit to him, I couldn't imagine what my life would be like without him. And so think about your story. Think about some simple statements that you can share with anyone, anywhere, at any time. And let's go out and tell our story.